Hey guys, it's Dr. Conklin here to do a quick video on reflections for you. We're on page 5 in our new Rigid Motions number 2 packet. So we're just going to start off by looking at some triangles in the coordinate plane, and I've already gone ahead and plotted D, E, and F for us. And note I'm labeling these as we go. And I want to talk about this notation today. We're asked to reflect about the y-axis. So how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to take each point, and I'm going to just start by reminding you guys, here's the y-axis. And let's look at this little r right here before we jump in. Little r stands for reflection. So we're going to look at a bunch of reflections today. We've got a reflection about the y-axis. We're going to look at the x-axis. And we're going to look at the line y equals x. So one helpful hint is I'm going to draw the y-axis in so I can see where I'm reflecting or flipping over. And what's actually nice, guys, is that D and F are already on the y-axis, so they're not going to go anywhere. So when I reflect over the y-axis, I'm going to make this D prime, even though it stays, and F prime. Remember, that's our image point. These are our pre-image, what we started with. To reflect E over, I'm going to count 1, 2, 3 over, 3 to the right, and I'm going to flip 1, 2, wait, hold on, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and this is going to be E prime. So now my new triangle looks like this. Do these two shapes look like they're congruent? Yeah, because these are, the fancy word we learned is a rigid motion, which means we can do what, guys? Preserve the size and shape. So reflections are rigid motions. Okay, so let's actually write these points out because I want to show you something a little bit neat. D and F are going to stay the same. Or I'm sorry, yeah, D prime and F prime are going to stay the same. But look what happened to E prime. It was 3, 6. Now it's negative 3, 6. So let's just take a second to compare those. E was 3, 6. Then it turned into negative 3, 6. So if we look at that, we notice what happened, guys. Well, the only thing that we did is we took the x value, which was here, right? And we made it the opposite. So sort of a rule for the y-axis is we make the x negative and keep the y the same. Okay, so we can do the same thing. If you want to plot this, you could plot it and flip it, or you could also sort of think about the rule way. Okay, so just to do one more example here, we're going to keep our, here are our A, B, and C points. We're going to keep our y the same. We're going to make our x negative. So negative 3, 0. Our x becomes negative, right? And then our C becomes negative. Now, you can use the rule way if you want to memorize it, but I know you guys can't erase this. I think this is in a different, well, this might be in a different quadrant, so let me see. 3, 0 is A, B is 5, negative 5, and C is 1, negative 5. Yep, so I did it the rule way, but if you'd rather just graph it, right? Here's A. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's A prime. Now that becomes negative 3, 0. That's what we thought. B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's B prime. And that's what we thought. And then C is going to flip to C prime. Again, are these rigid motions? Absolutely. Okay. Let's go to the next page, and we're going to now reflect over the x-axis. So I'm going to start by plotting these points. D, and again, we're on page 6 now, is negative 7, negative 2. Wait, 1, 2, yep. Negative 4. Oh, hold on, got to label our points as we go. Negative 4, negative 2. And F is negative 7, negative 2. Okay, so we get sort of a sense for what this triangle looks like. Now we're going to reflect over which axis? The x-axis, okay? So when we do that, so again, here's our x-axis. I'm going to label it. I'm going to go up 2 to get E prime, up 2 to get D prime, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, F prime. So again, do these shapes look the same? They should be congruent, and they are because a reflection is a rigid motion. So let's plot these points, or we already plotted them. Let's list the points. Again, here's our fancy notation. The little r means reflection. So D prime is going to be -7, 2. E prime is going to be -4, 2. And F prime is -7, 6. So what do we see here? Look at our D prime, guys. The only thing that changed is we kept the x the same, but we made the y negative. Same thing for E. We made the y negative. And when I say negative, I mean the opposite. So -2, the negative of a negative becomes a positive. Same thing for 6. So our rule, if we're reflecting about the y-axis, would be to start with our xy, and we're going to keep the x the same and make the y negative. Okay? So it might be good for you guys to try this one right now, and I'll list the answer for you. Okay, so if you go ahead and plot this, you should get these points for your answer. And you can feel free to plot them again, reflection about the x-axis. And then last but not least, page 7. Now on page 7, we have a little bit of a different reflection here. We're reflecting all about the line y equals x. So I'm going to keep our original triangle. So go ahead and graph our original triangle. And then what do we do when we have y equals x? Well, what this is saying, the line y equals x goes right through the center of our graph like this. That's the line, if you plot it, y equals x. The slope is 1, it crosses the x-axis. There's a few ways to do this, but probably the easiest way, if you look at them, is we have d is 0, 6. What we're really doing is we're saying, hey, we're going to take and flip this point over. So I'm going to just take and flip-flop these points. So d prime is going to become 6, 0. Same thing here for E. I'm going to flip and make this 6, 3. That's E prime. And F, I'm going to take the same thing and make this 0, 2, 0. Sorry, guys. Okay, that's going to be F prime. And when we plot those, do you guys see how it looks like we could fold over that line and those would be the same? So here are my points. I listed them just so we had them. So the rule for this is we're going to take the x and the y and we're just going to switch the order. Okay, so try this example right now. And again, if you'd rather plot it out, do it. But I think this is one of those nice rules and it might be easier to just see the example. Okay, so if we switch these should be our point. All right, so those are our points. So if you have a chance, you might just want to fill in this reflection rule table. Remember, little r means reflection about the y-axis, about the x-axis, and about y equals x. So then your homework for tonight is going to be to do page 8. And these are not whole shapes. These are just single points. So just be careful. These here should be review. But for these kind of questions like C, you have to work backwards. What point did I start with to get a reflection about the y-axis? Well, remember the rule, or again, feel free to plot this. I put paper before. If we're reflecting about the y-axis, what we're really doing is making the x negative. So if we're working backwards, I'm going to keep the y the same. It's going to be -1. And I'm going to do the opposite here, so that's going to give me 6. So try these out. Please take a picture and hand it in, and I hope you guys have a super day.